Well, hello there and welcome. It is so good to have you with us for your program. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you on EWTN Radio. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. We have the show team in place. Matt, Ace, and Michael McCall is on social media today. And we are looking forward to having, Debbie, what should be an interesting conversation today.
Absolutely. We're talking about sibling rivalry, okay? When you share growing up with brothers and sisters and you're thinking to yourself, am I mom and dad's favorite? Are they? There's all this sibling rivalry. There's competition. There's jealousy. All sorts of things that can happen in the family dynamics. And we're talking about sibling rivalry today. And I will tell you, I do know a story, Jerry, a couple years ago, well, I shouldn't say a couple years ago, about 10 years ago, where there was a real jealousy between siblings, and one ended up killing the other sibling. And it was, and it was terrible. It was horrible. But this rivalry went on for their whole lives, and their parents tried to do something about it. They couldn't do anything about it. And then they got into their 40s and they went into business together. And oh boy, was that problems, and so there you go. But sibling rivalry can turn dangerous too. So let's talk about it. 833-288-3986. And maybe that's why they always say don't go into business with family, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. I've had some experiences, not in business per se, but with family working with me and for me. And yeah, sometimes there can be, things that come up, but all went pretty well, thanks be to God. But Take Two family, this is for you to take and run with today. We're talking about sibling rivalry. How was that for you growing up? Did you have any kind of little tug-of-wars, emotional things going on, maybe even physical things going on, fisticuffs or something, who knows, with a sibling when you were growing up? Or how is that maybe, endured into your adult life? Maybe there's and you don't have to spill all the details or anything like that, but we just want to talk about how maybe we can, come to a place of better understanding maybe why these things happen, and perhaps come up with a tool or two for trying to make things maybe a little bit better. 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
So it's interesting, if you do go back and you look at siblings and you go all the way back to their earliest childhood memories, you can come up with some things. I talked to some family members, extended family members, and I asked them about their childhood, and they talked about a certain brother or sister that was a little bit of a bully and kind of teased them too much, and they remember it when they were 3 and 4 years old, and that can progress into adult life, and then it becomes very, you can have estrangement, all sorts of things happen. And then when the parents finally depart this earth, you could have problems financially with the will, the estate, all sorts of things. And so you see, folks, that things happen, and it starts actually it can start in the family. So that's why we're talking about it. Very important that we discuss this. Sibling rivalry is the topic today. We need your help. Start filling the phones. You do not have to be Catholic to call in. You don't have to use your real first name if you don't want to out your family members. We understand that. So would you please give us a confirmation name or a name that you always wished your parent called you? That would be wonderful. 833-288-3986 is the number to call, and let's talk about sibling rivalry. Now, you came from a family of how many kids?
5 kids.
Okay. Did you have any jealousy, competition, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure there was. It just, as I was reflecting on today's topic, I think for me growing up, it was more the garden variety stuff, just the fights you get into with your siblings, and then pretty soon everything's smoothed over and everything's okay. I don't really recall. Well, actually, there was one thing. It wasn't a rivalry, but with our stepdad, my sister was oldest, and then the 4 boys, and the boys were split into teams of 2, and we had to rotate doing the dishes. My sister never had to do the dishes after dinner, so I'm just sort of musing out loud here. Maybe there was a little bit of resentment there, but God rest her soul. We everything was fine. But I'm thinking of even now as adults, I feel so blessed, Debbie, that with my remaining 3 siblings, my brothers, we all see eye to eye in most things. We get along very well. We're very, very close. So I can't say that there's been any remaining sibling rivalries in my family, but that doesn't mean take two family that you have had the same experience. Maybe even into adulthood, you've got some kind of a tussle going on with a sibling, a brother or a sister. Again, no first names necessary. You can pick a confirmation name or a name, as Debbie says, you wish you had been given. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go into a lot of detail. But we want to talk things out, because you could come away, either you or someone who hears what you have to share could come away with a new idea about how to maybe make that relationship better. So please join us, 833-288-3986.
A tussle, very good word.
Tussle.
A vigorous struggle or scuffle, very good word. I like that word, tussle. That's much better than just, these brutal words like, beating each other up and fighting and stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? A tussle. Yeah. I like that. That's very good. So if you have that in your family, and that's part of the way we get along and we're raised in a family, and that's the family dynamics, please, can you share with us some of the details? We'd like to see if there are things we can change immediately about our own family and our extended family and friends and fellow parishioners and neighbors, because that's family. We are the body of Christ. So Sibling Rivalry is the title today. We need your help. Now is the time to call in. Matt Kabinski's waiting for your call, 833-288-3986.
Yeah, we know we do some topics on this show that do require a little bit of pondering and reflection, maybe not that long on your part, but then also, maybe to, get into something that maybe is a little bit uncomfortable perhaps. But again, the point is, like we've said a couple times already here on this program, this show is designed to help you out in your own personal situation. And again, we always say what you have to share, your lived experiences really are going to change lives, turn lives around, maybe heal relationships. And perhaps you have had a sibling rivalry that has been patched up and mended, and now you've got a great relationship with that sibling. We would love to hear about that and how good how much that has changed your life for the better. So again, the number is 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. We've got a couple phone lines that are wide open for you right now. Make this a great Tuesday broadcast. Wow, almost at the end of January. Hard to believe. 833-288-3986. Your own experience with sibling rivalry here on Take Two.
Catechism in a Year with me, Father Mike Schmitz, is now available right here on Catholic Radio. Encounter God's plan of sheer goodness for us, revealed in Scripture and passed down through the tradition of the Catholic faith, as we journey together toward our heavenly home.
Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on EWTN Radio.
This is a Messy Family Minute with Mike and Alicia Hernan. One word of advice that we hear from couples with great marriages is to make a regular date night a priority. Spending dedicated time alone with your spouse is an essential foundation for a vibrant marriage. Date night's a time for busy couples to look at each other and say, I remember you.
We know making time for each other can be hard, especially when there are children around, but that's actually when it's most important. Never allow your children or busy schedules to become an excuse for not prioritizing your marriage. When we had young children, sometimes on a Friday night, one of us would put the kids to bed and the other would set up the living room with candles and flowers and fun food. Or we would ask friends to watch our kids and we would do the same for them. Or we would get up early and spend an hour or so alone before the children woke up. There are many ways that you can carve out time to focus on your relationship, but you have to be intentional.
For more information about our next virtual date night, join our newsletter at messyfamilyminute.org.
We're talking about sibling rivalry today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And I just wanted to share here that Mother Angelica Memorial. Visit EWTN's site dedicated to Mother Angelica, where you can celebrate her remarkable life. It's filled with photos, milestones, heartfelt stories, and her wit and words that have inspired the hearts of all ages throughout the years. Visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica today.
Okay, we are, of course, streaming the video on YouTube and Facebook. Hello to you great folks there. You can post your comments there, and Michael will get those over to us. In fact, he has gotten us one from another Michael, and I'll read that in just a minute. But you can also email take2@EWTN.com, post on the show website, take2show.com, or we'd love to hear your beautiful voice sharing your account of sibling rivalry, if it's still going on. Maybe it's a thing of the past for you. 833-288-3986. You want to share what Michael said on YouTube?
I thought you were going to read it. I'll read it. Yeah, absolutely, on YouTube. We're waving to you, Michael. Thank you so much for sending this in. My mother and aunt, depending on how you pronounce it, had a rivalry that caused them to not even speak with each other while they were alive. This ended with each of their deaths and are buried in the same cemetery.
Wow.
But I have to tell you, I've heard a lot of that, Michael, and everybody that's listening. I've heard that people will go to their death not making up with a sibling before they die, and that's very unfortunate. But you know, Jerry, I go back to Father Chris Alar. Remember when we interviewed him, and he clearly reminded us how God stands outside of time, and he said, we can repair anything through our prayers. And so I would always say, you know, to pray for those. You know, aunts and parents and siblings and those that left this earth with those estrangements and those, you know, difficulties with siblings. And because it's unfortunate. I know my grandmother, I think my grandfather did. He did the same thing, Michael. He left this earth not speaking to a sibling.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe you've tried. Maybe you've reached out to a brother or a sister and didn't get a response, or maybe you were just told, hey, you know, leave me alone, or maybe it helped. Maybe it helped to smooth over a situation. These are so important. You know, what's that old saying? You know, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And sometimes it's really sad to me. It really is, Debbie. It's one of the saddest things to me is when, you know, family members, especially immediate family members, you know, have these severed relationships. You know, it's sad. It really is.
Well, it usually starts with some kind of argument, disagreement that it didn't get resolved at the time, and then as weeks and months and years go on, the story changes a bit, and it can be somewhat more dramatic. And you tell other family members, and then before you know it, people are picking sides, and it's really unfortunate. I've seen it happen in the life coaching work that we do, Jerry. I do a lot of family coaching and crisis coaching for couples, and they talk about that. They'll say it started with this really tiny argument, and now it has ballooned into this massive rift that has torn the family apart. I really do not believe at all that God, you know, intended for that, wants that in any way. I know everybody likes to pull scripture and quote scripture and say, well, you're going to have mother against, you know, son and this and that. Okay, I understand that, but that's usually under the idea of belief systems, right?
Yeah.
Not about arguments over, you know, I don't know, a lasagna meal. I mean, that just I don't see God stepping in and saying, let's divide the family over that. That doesn't even make sense to me.
Right.
What do you think?
No, I agree completely. Yeah, everything you just said, I think is spot on, and I think it goes a long way toward, you know, contributing to what we're talking about here today. And we're going to get to some of you on the phones. We got a couple lines that are still open. 833-288-3986. If you have experience with sibling rivalry, that's our topic today on Take Two. Francis would like to go first because Francis called first from Cleveland, listening on the Rock. Hello, Francis.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Okay. I have to tell you, I'm not sure that this is exactly sibling rivalry, but it feels as though it is to some extent.
Okay.
I come from a family of 7, and I'm third born, a boy, a girl, then me, a boy, 3 girls. My oldest brother went away years ago and lived overseas for a long time, and when he came back to live in town at one point about 5 years ago, he truly seemed like he was not a Clevelander anymore. He had assimilated the traits, a lot of the traits of the culture he had been in for 30 years or more. Anyway, a couple of years ago, I sent him a text, and I didn't proofread it, and he got really upset with it. And when I looked at it later, I understood why he could read it the way he did. I wasn't careful. I was careless, so I owned all the error with that. But his reaction to me over this was to tell me all sorts of evil things, especially to F off. So I was so upset about it, I didn't function for a while. It came up another time where I called him, and he immediately yelled at me and told me to F off. And I said, "That's it, no more, no more. I can't do this for you. We can't have a relationship. I can't be abused." And so I never really talked about it with my other siblings because I didn't want there to be two teams. There were already some factions in the family, such as that. Mm-hmm. So now he lives about an hour away from me, and he's pretty sick, and he could use my help, I'm sure, but I'm not helping him. And I feel like for my own safety, I'm doing the right thing, but I'm not really sure how much mercy I'm showing to him. I don't have the emotional to take care of him like he does. My husband has a chronic disease. He has MS, and he always needs my first attention. Anyway, my point is it's about civil rivalry, and I'm sorry I talked too long, was that I think this is partly goes back to just some things that were allowed to happen in our childhood and the new culture that he's assimilated into, and I just am not really sure that I'm doing the right thing. My heart tells me I am, but my brain tells me I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Deb,
do you want to go first?
No, please.
Well, your first priority, Francis, in my humble opinion, is to your husband. Because that's your sacrament, that's your marriage, that's your vocation. So your husband comes first. But if you're feeling guilty in a way, or you feel like you want to do more for your brother, I don't think there's anything wrong with sending him a note, letting him know that you're praying for him, you are remembering him always, you're having masses said for him, you constantly think about him, and remind him that you're taking care of your husband, and that you still, you can have it both, you can make it be acceptable in all levels and in all forms, if you just communicate with your brother in a way. Now, if your brother's asking you to take care of him, well, you have to kind of weigh this and see how that's going to work out, because like you mentioned that your husband needs you. So I think if you just balance it out, you can have a win-win all the way around, and it could also make you feel more comfortable knowing you're doing the charitable thing as a Christian. Doesn't mean you have to get back in really tight relationship with your brother, especially if he doesn't treat you that great. What do you say to that first before Jerry comments?
Well, I kind of in my heart knows that you just gave me good advice, but in as much as it's been a year and a half where I really did sever ties with him, I severed ties with him because I'm afraid of how irrational he is, so I prefer not to. I'm going to have to pray about your advice to reach out to him. I do pray for him. I do. I pray for all my siblings every day. I was taught to do that, and I genuinely believe in the power of prayer.
Right.
But I don't feel like getting into a relationship with him again is a good thing for me. So I'm going to have to listen to your advice and think about it and pray about it, quite frankly, because I really am afraid of any relationship to yours.
Right, and I understand that. And Francis, you got to keep healthy boundaries. You have to keep those because you have to protect what you have, your responsibilities, what you have at home. So I understand that. But one quick question, is he reaching out to you at all?
No, he is not. My siblings are beating on me because I'm an hour away. I have a sister who's about half an hour away, but everybody else is scattered around the country.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would pray about it, but just know you don't have to be completely invested in everything that's going on in his life and his care and everything. You can do it from a distance and in a nice, charitable, healthy way. The only thing that I will share with you too, when you take this into discernment and prayer, is that we work with religious demonologist Adam Bly, and he talks about how, when we are attached to certain things that like unforgiveness or not reconciliation and stuff like that, we carry that over into the afterlife, and then we've got to shed that in purgatory. Okay, so you might as well do it here somehow in some way to make it better. That's what I would say, but keep your healthy boundaries. What do you say to that, Jerry?
Well, I was going to ask the same question you did, Francis. I was going to ask if your brother has reached out, and it sounds like you've heard about his time of need arising right now from your siblings. So I would just leave you with this. One thing I've learned in my own life, especially recently, the best thing you can do for other people is to do the will of God in your life. And your primary vocation, as you pointed out, Francis, is to your husband. God can do what we are not able to do. He can do it in a million times better than we can. So I would say what Debbie said, just be deep in prayer for your brother, as you said you already are. Send your guardian angel to his guardian angel, and together they can maybe soften his heart or just lead him to get the help that he's going to need, because you've got a beautiful heart, Francis. We can hear how kind of torn you are on this, but again, I think you got to be faithful to what is right there in front of you and in your husband, and go from there.
Right. And wouldn't you agree, Jerry, that Francis can demonstrate acts of mercy from a distance?
Yeah.
You don't have to be right there taking care of your brother physically. Would you say that's
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does that work for you, Francis, when you take that to prayer?
Well, you gave me a whole lot of good things to unpack. Some things I have thought about and prayed about, some things that I haven't. But I'm going to be hitting my knees and thinking about what I heard you say, and making sure that I can discern if there's a better way to move forward, that where I can take care of myself and yet offer him some help from afar.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I love that. Masses, have masses said. Masses are golden. Yeah.
And we got our prayer book. I'm sure Debbie's got you, Francis, in there, and your brother,
and
and
his
we
brother.
don't need a name. We're just going to put Francis and your brother and all of your family in the prayer book, and be assured of the Take Two families prayers going up around the world. Francis, bless you. Thank you for the call to Take Two. We appreciate it. 833-288-3986. That's how the show works, right there. Perfect example of it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Francis. And I totally botched that scripture verse, Luke 12:53. It's they will be divided, father against son, son against father, mother against daughter, daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. You get the picture, folks.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way in our day-to-day lives, and it really shouldn't go to that great depth and length if it's something that we can reconcile here on this side of the veil. So let's talk about it. 833-288-3986. And I just got a message. They asked, how many siblings do I have? I'm one of six. Jerry's one of 5. I'm one of 6. Marty is one of 7. And there's twins in his family. Okay, we're going to go to Kathy in New York on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay. Thank you for taking the call. So I come from a family of 7 children, and there was lots of sibling rivalry in there. But I think as adults, most of it has ironed out. But my issue is with my 2 children. So my son is 5 years older than his sister. And really, from the get-go, the day that he came to the hospital to meet his sister, he really wanted nothing to do, didn't really want to look at her, wasn't interested at all. And that's pretty much been the way it's been throughout his life. There's just been this constant, I would assume it to be a jealousy on his part. He was a very introverted child, and she was a complete opposite, extrovert. The world was her oyster. And so as a parent, both my husband and I, we parented the same. You have different relationships with your children because, they're just totally different people. But for whatever reason, my son just kind of has an angst against his sister. And as a parent, it's been bone crushing. It's just such a heartache because he's now, he'll be 40 this year and she'll be 35. And there's really very little contact with each other, although this coming Sunday we are supposed to all meet and have dinner together, but this will be the first time in years that's happened. So I was just wondering if you have any advice for a mom.
Well, I tell you what, I can take a quick swing at this, Kathy. We've got a break coming up, so we'll ask you to hold over if you can in about a little over a minute. Having not been a parent myself, but I know a lot of families, and the first I'd just be curious to know. You said that your son is 5 years older than your sister. You said you have 7 children. Where are the 2 of them in the order? Just curious.
No, I'm sorry. I came from a family of 7 children.
Okay.
I'm 7. It's just the 2 of them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind, you probably thought of this. I'm certainly no psychologist. Debbie would know a lot more about this, but I know there are situations when there's. Oh, you hear that music there? Hold on just a second, Kathy, if you can hang on. Beth in North Dakota, we're going to get to you as well. Talking about sibling rivalry today here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie at 833-288-EWTN. There is that line open right there. I'm looking at 833-288-3986. Stay with us.
EWTN Radio is seeking a dynamic radio producer to join the EWTN radio team in Irondale, Alabama. The right candidate will be a passionate, multi-skilled, talented professional who can manage and direct all aspects of producing world-class radio broadcasts and play an integral part in Mother Angelica's mission. For all the details about this exciting opportunity, visit EWTN.com and click on Employment at the bottom of the page.
Listen to EWTN Radio day or night. Audio on Demand brings you your favorite EWTN programs instantly to you for free. Download the EWTN app today at EWTNapps.com.
Archbishop Cordileone talks about the National Catholic Register.
The register's content is so critically important in the society we're living in now. There's an absence of the practice of religion in public life. So all the more important is it for people to be reading the register so that they can acquire more understanding of our Catholic faith. I've appreciated the catechetical benefits of the content of the register. It presents very clear Catholic teaching in a way that is easily digestible.
To get half off your subscription, order online at ncregister.com/radio or call 800-421-3230 and mention code radio. That's ncregister.com/radio or call 800-421-3230 and mention code radio. Call or click today to save 50%. The National Catholic Register. Read faithfully.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. You don't have to be a woman to enjoy Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. 833-288-3986, talking about sibling rivalry there. And Kathy in New York. Kathy, sorry I got mixed up there. And it was you who were one of the 7 kids. You have your son and your daughter yourself. I can just point to someone who was very, very close to me. I'm not going to say who it was, but I remember they have a number of kids overall. But when the second was born, I just remember if I would spend time around them, the older of the 2. There was a little bit of resentment, I think, and this is probably not that uncommon. I've heard of it happening before. I don't know if this is the situation with your son or not, but they're kind of used to being the only one kind of getting the attention from the parents and all of that sort of thing, and then another child comes along, and it could probably be a hard adjustment for some kids. So I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Debbie, you may have something else to say about this, but this is apparently something that can probably last into adulthood. It sounds like.
Yeah, a couple questions real quickly, Kathy. And if anyone else wants to get in on the conversation about sibling rivalry, or you have some wisdom you'd like to impart, please call in. We do have an open phone line, 833-288-3986. Kathy, the age span between your son and your daughter?
5 years.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So have you ever by any chance read the Birth Order book? Have you ever read that?
No, I have not.
Okay, yeah, it's very interesting. So the fact that there's a gap, and there you have your son, you have your daughter, so it's not like you have two boys or two girls, so that kind of competition happening, you won't have that. But the 5 years, there's a wide span. He spent a lot of time with you as an only child, and then here comes his baby sister who steals the spotlight, and that can be a little bit difficult for a boy that tends to be more reserved, and a female that tends to be outgoing. I'll give you an example that's almost very similar to my brother, Michael, and myself. I am 6.5 years younger than him. He was the youngest child for 6.5 years, and then here comes me, which was not really expected. And they were my parents were happy, but I don't know if my 5 siblings were, because they had their everything in motion of how they related to mom and dad. So that could be a factor. But what I would suggest, Kathy, this is just a suggestion, and you can talk to other people in therapy or counseling. I'm a life coach. I'm not a therapist or counselor, so you can talk to other people about that. But in the experience that I have had coaching families and the dynamics in families with siblings, I would do this. I would, when you get together with your family, I would express what you want, your wishes for your son and daughter when you leave this earth. And I think that's really important, because you have one son, you have one daughter, and eventually God is going to call you home someday. And we hope you live many, many, many more years. Okay. But God's going to call you home. And what do you want as a wish for your son and for your daughter and for your family? I would just present that to them in a very blanket fashion. And the reason why I say that is because my mom did that, and so did my dad before they died. And believe it or not, it had a huge impact on our family. And so I would do that and just leave it be and let it play out. And if there ever is an opportunity for all of you to go into any family coaching or counseling, it would be fantastic, because it's not like they have other siblings they can go to. You've got one daughter and one son, and they should be close. Does any of that feel right to you, Kathy?
I think definitely, well, one, I'll get the book, but two, I do think, giving them my wishes. With my daughter, I think she would, work really hard at it. My son, it's probably not, but I certainly can put it out there. I had my son in therapy for all different therapists, all throughout his adolescence to try and, get a handle on this. And nothing at all ever worked. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing fused it.
Sure.
So,
sure. And maybe it's his personality and what he's dealing with, and maybe the best that your daughter can do is love him from a distance, but it's still love. When love is given at a distance or with some parameters around it and some healthy boundaries, there's nothing wrong with that. Nowhere does it say that we have to be in each other's homes every single day, having coffee every day and, talking on the phone 10 times a day. So even if it's from a distance, that is still really good, Kathy, because we live in a very difficult world right now. And I know we coach families that haven't spoken in years to each other. So I just want to say you're a lot you're a lot further ahead and better off than a lot of people who are dealing with family situations. So we're going to pray that everything works out with this gathering. Can you give us a roundabout date when it's happening so we can pray specifically?
Yes, it's Sunday.
Sunday. Okay. Yeah, let us know. I'm going to go to Padre Pio. He's my go-to one for this, and Jerry will go to his. I know Jerry always goes to St. Joseph. You do go to St. Joseph. Yep. So Kathy, we will pray and let us know when, not if, when you get some forward movement, okay?
I sure will. Thanks so much for taking the call.
You're welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join us. 833-288-3986. talking today about sibling rivalry. Maybe you've had one from childhood. Maybe it's something that came up well into your adult years. Maybe you've had a little bit of a hassle or a struggle going on with a sibling that has been patched up. We'd love to hear about that as well. Love to hear success stories. 833-288-3986.
You going to do a shout out?
I do want to do a shout out. We'd love to do this. Congratulations to another member of the EWTN radio family, KSHF 96.7 FM in Espanola, New Mexico, celebrating 9 years with EWTN this week. So congratulations to Larry Martinez and his great team at St. Joseph Manunet Radio from all of your friends right here at EWTN.
Beautiful. And we just lost Beth from Bismarck. You can call back, Beth. We'll hold a phone line open for you. Call us back. We were ready to put you on air. 833-288-3986. We're talking about sibling rivalry today. Very important that we talk about it because we can heal and help our families. Let's do that because all of heaven, I believe, is pleased when we really work on our families and our extended families. And then we go out into the community with our friends and our fellow parishioners. So, Jerry, real quick, I just want to go back real fast to my family. My mom had 5 kids in 6.5 years. Okay, try to imagine that. 5 kids in 6.5 years. And then she thought that they were done with more children coming, and then she found out she was pregnant with me, and she was very thrilled. And my brothers and sisters were hoping for a boy, so they could have the Brady Bunch, 3 girls and 3 boys. And my name was going to be David, and it wasn't David; it was Debbie. And she didn't even have a name for me when she brought me home from the hospital because I wasn't supposed to be a girl. And my brother Michael, and you know Michael, Jerry, Michael and I were very close growing up. He was 6.5 years older than I was, but he taught me so many things, and he was such a great big brother. He still is. He's a wonderful big brother, and we talk now. We haven't spoken in many years when he was busy raising his family, and I was busy taking care of things with my mom and dad, and his mom and dad too. But I live in Arizona. He lives in Texas. And long story short, after my mom passed, my brother and I reconnected, and we virtually, pretty much speak almost every single day. And it's so beautiful. And we either text or we say hi to each other. And I love that. So family, my sister has always said this: when parents pass away, the family dynamics change. And they forever change. Now, they can change for the better or for the worse. And so I think that's why we're having these discussions today. What do you say to that?
Well, I say exactly, and that's a beautiful testimony, what you shared about you and Michael. I think that's very, very beautiful. And I know how much you do, feel for him and all of your siblings. And like I shared early in the program, my 3 brothers and I, and even my sister was living, we would have disagreements over things, but there was just a certain respect, I think, that we had for each other. And willingness to say, okay, let's not let that be the thing that drives a wedge between us as siblings, or diminish our love that we had for each other. So right. I feel very, very blessed. I'm grateful to God for having avoided some of the things that, quite frankly, we're talking about today, and which are unfortunate, but don't have to necessarily remain that way.
Exactly. Exactly. I have to say something about your family. We have full phone lines, so we'll get back to the phone lines in just a moment. I got to say something about the Usher family. I feel so privileged to know, especially Joe. Well, you, Jerry, I know you, and Joe and John. I believe I've met Jim. I think once. We're Facebook friends, but I've never. I don't think I ever met Mary in person. I don't think I ever did. And maybe I might have. I've spoken to her on the phone. But I have to say something about the Usher family. They are the sweetest family. I love their family. And it's so sweet. I know, I really feel this way, that if I called John like right now and said, John, I need your help, because John lives in Arizona, he would come, he would help me, or Anita would, his beautiful wife, or Joe. And I know Joe still in Georgia?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. That's the beauty of your family. They're so willing to help, and there's just beautiful, deep hearts. That's what I've always noticed about the Usher family. So you are blessed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, this isn't, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But of your siblings that I have met, I love all of them, too. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. Very helpful.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Joan has been very helpful to us. And
Well, they love you, too. My mother used to say, Jerry's a nice fella.
That
there you
nice
go.
fella.
I love it. Well, we're talking family today, folks, and it's very important we have these discussions because where are you going to have them? So if you want to jump in, there just was an open phone line just now, 833-288-3986, and we'll be getting back to the phones in just a minute, right?
Yeah, just a moment. I want to mention EWTN Open Line. It's with Father Mitch Pacwa, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time right here on EWTN Radio. You can join Father Mitch tomorrow afternoon as he takes your questions and helps to bring a better understanding of God and the Catholic faith. That's EWTN Open Line Wednesday, 3 Eastern Time on most of these same EWTN stations.
And we're, talking about mercy, the Divine Mercy messages. We started with Rick Paolini at the beginning of January, and they're being posted on our website, take2show.com. You can also post a comment of how you really appreciated these meditations each week at Jerry and Debbie Facebook page. Please grow the family there. Don't forget to share the videos of Take Two if you feel that the topics are important. So maybe you want a sibling to hear what we talked about, or even, share a portion of it, because I think sometimes you just have to get the conversation started.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We love the Facebook family, the Take Two family around the world. You can always, of course, post your prayer intentions as well at take2show.com. But please do feel free to join us here. We got some time to get you on the program at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. I'm just kind of musing for a moment here. I wonder if any of the saints had sibling rivalries. Debbie, have you ever read about a saint who had...
Yes.
Like
I can't recall which saints, but I read the lives of the saints all the time, and there were several that had a lot of jealousy. Mm-hmm. But that's going to happen when you have somebody that's spiritually advanced.
Yeah.
Sometimes, although in like Padre Pio's family and other families, they were in awe of their sibling and the relationship they had with God. So that prompted them to get deeper. And so usually there was like a whole family of saints.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Okay, Teresa's been holding patiently in Huntsville, Alabama, listening to us on the EWTN app. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Go right ahead.
Okay, yes, I'm calling because I have sibling rivalry. I'm one of 7, and I'm originally from New York. We live in North Alabama now. We're here a long time, 18 years. And we moved here because of my husband's work. But I have a sister 5 years older and a sister a year and a half younger. I'm the 4th born. My sister has created so much conflict and tension between me and my younger sister that none of us are talking. They've both unfriended me in social media, Facebook and, messaging. They're both born-again Christian, and I'm Catholic, so I'm attacked all the time for being Catholic. I brush that aside. I'm a devout Christian, but it all stemmed from because I was unable to meet my sister 5 years ago in Birmingham to drive to Florida, so she turned it into World War III, that I had some nerve not meeting her there. I wrote her a letter of apology, but my husband was working. I was not going to have him drive 4 hours round trip while he's working. And I didn't want to drive in a car with her for 12 to 14 hours. So I just found a cheaper airline ticket to see our mother for an early Thanksgiving. Right. But it has never stopped. So every time she sees me, she insults me. My daughter just got married in September. And after the wedding, we're outside, we're taking pictures of the photographer. She starts yelling, "We just came for the ceremony. We're leaving. But we came," like just screaming like she's at a football game. And I was like, I texted her. I was like, "You didn't have to be yelling." Like I should have probably just said it, but she got so mad at me for saying it. I'm like, well, nothing holds her back from saying anything.
Right.
But what got even worse is when I was a child, I was in a terrible bicycle accident with my brother. My brother, all 4 of us were taking bicycles to church in New York in a very hilly area. And my brother crashed. I fell off the bike. I hit my head, and I was in a coma for 3 days.
Ooh.
And I was miraculously healed. And I had the anointing of the sick. We all went to Catholic school. I had the whole school, church, everything. I was on the news. I was like the miracle child. I came out of it, everything, and I was, I was always a straight A student, but then I was like an A-B student. So they put me down for getting B's in school. Like, it's just so horrific, the insulting remarks. And I'm done. I'm done with her insults. And the fact is, God healed me. I was healed. I was healed by the Lord. You don't put down what the Lord does. And I remember everything. I have a miraculous memory. I remember that day. Both my brothers were altar boys, and I wanted to go to church. And they were like, "We're going." They left 7:00 in the morning, and my father was supposed to drive us. And when I look back on it, I'm like, it was really Dad's fault. He didn't drive us because he was lazy, and my parents had problems with their marriage.
Right.
And I was just a kid. I was just 9 years old. I was just a kid. I'm like,
yeah. But
there's
Teresa,
no reason for her to bring that in and insult me and be despicable.
Okay. Teresa, let me share something with you. Now, just take this to prayer, okay? You don't have to answer. You don't have to, just think about it and see if this resonates with you and the Holy Spirit prompts you in this direction. You have a lot of passion about this. There's a lot of energy behind this because you're so hurt. You're hurt. You're angry, and you have every right to be. You have every right to feel hurt. These are your siblings, but you can choose to make this work for you spiritually. And what I mean by that is turn this around and use that energy to drive you to sainthood. So what I would do if it were me is I would send them a beautiful letter and say to them, don't bring up any situations, don't bring up anything, just say, we can all agree on this. We're all Christian. We can all agree on this. We are all Christian. And so I'm going to make a promise to you, my sweet sisters. From this point forward, you can throw every insult and criticism at me all you want. I'm going to smile and send blessings back to you because I want to get to heaven. And I want you to get to heaven. We all need to get to heaven. And let's do this the right way. I'm going to be the lead and I'm going to do it. And from this point forward, and you don't have to come, if they come back and say, look at her, she's acting so holier than thou and this and that. Don't even let that get to you. Just say, I'm really going to work hard to never, ever say a critical, judgmental, hurtful thing ever your way. If you say it to me, so be it. That's you. But I'm just letting you know from this point forward, that's how I'm going to conduct my life. You could try that. Sometimes it really does hit people deeply. It pricks their conscience. Sometimes they'll come back with even worse, where they'll say, no, you're just being so, you think you're better than the rest of us. But you know what, Teresa? What's your goal? Your goal is to get to heaven. That's what all our goals should be, right? To get to heaven. I say, you gotta take a higher view and a higher road of this. What do you say, Jer?
I'd love to know, Teresa, what you thought of what Debbie just shared right there first.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. What
do I think?
Yeah.
Yes, I want to take a higher road. Yes, I want to have the peace that surpasses all understanding.
Good.
And I don't want to be like in romper room, childish behavior.
Right.
Of this one-upmanship thing, and the spirit of contention is not of Christ. Jesus is the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
So I want to walk in peace, and I want to walk in the joy of the Lord.
Right.
The joy of the Lord is my strength.
Amen, sister. So then you live that, you model that, and don't let anything have like this protective shield around you hopefully with the help of your guardian angel who's right beside you to bounce all those insults and everything off of you. Teresa, I have lived in a family where it was constantly like that. I can't even begin to tell you. And I had great mentors that would always say to me, Debbie, you just have to stay focused. You have to stay focused and not let this rock you in any way, shape, or form. And let me tell you, there was a long time span where I was long length of time where I got off the mark and I got into the brawling of it, and then I finally said, enough already, I'm done. And it's been the happiest change of my life, and it's caused, I believe, other people to kind of rise up and be better. So I'm going to pray that for you and your family, Teresa. And you're not alone. We hear this a lot about bigger families.
Yes, that's how I feel, and it really upsets my husband deeply. He's just like, he just shakes his head. Like, I just can't believe this is still going on.
Right. Well, tell him you turned a corner and you've changed and you're going to go in a new direction and stick to it. You can do it. I've done it. You can do it. You just have to you have to keep saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But I'm going to stay focused and I'm getting to heaven. So try that and let us know how it goes. Will you do that?
Yes, okay. I will do that. Yes.
Thanks, Teresa.
All right, you'll be in our prayers, Teresa. Chris in Michigan on Sirius XM 130. Get over to Chris next. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. What would you like to share?
What I would like some advice, please. I have 4 children, 2 daughters who are 8 years apart, and they are constantly bickering. They pick, nothing is ever right with each of them. So anytime we have a family gathering, it's like having to walk on eggshells to hope that nobody says anything, that there's going to start the yelling and the maybe slamming of doors and whatever. And I just want to know, what can I do?
Mm-hmm. What can you do? Go ahead.
What can you do to help their relationship? Oh, we might have lost Chris.
Might have lost
her.
Okay. Do you want to answer first?
Well, the only thing that comes to my mind is, for these family gatherings, they don't necessarily have to happen. I mean, obviously we want to have them happen, especially around the holidays and all of that. But I can't imagine, Debbie, that it's any fun at all. Having to, as she said, walk on eggshells all the time. And I don't know if it's something that Renee, not Renee, but the caller, if you can sit down with your 2 daughters, so you said they're 8 years apart, but maybe talk to them individually, or get take the 2 of them out to lunch and just say, you know what, this is something that I've observed, and I'm sorry that you have this type of relationship.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And set parameters when you get to these family gatherings. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about that. And I would limit the family gatherings to, they say that everything goes south after 30 minutes, but I know that's hard to do at a family gathering because you're probably having a meal. So I would say don't make the gatherings more than in an hour, and everybody go home after a while, because after a while, you start talking, people get relaxed, then things get said, or past stories get brought up, or if there's alcohol at part of these gatherings, then that even gets worse. So I always say limit the time. Less is fine for relationships that are difficult, but set the parameters. Just say, hey, we're gonna talk about Jesus today at this dinner, and that's it. We're not talking about anything else, or we're gonna talk about the saints. And you can control the gatherings if they want to get together. But I agree with you, Jerry. You don't have to get together.
Yeah. Well, a lot of families choose not to after a certain point because, the walking on eggshells, especially if you're like hosting a gathering or something, you shouldn't have to, feel that way in your own home or even if you go to somebody else's place. So, all right. Thank you for the call, Renee. We are just not going to get to you. You hear the music there. We are running out of time for today's program on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. It has been a wonderful conversation. We want to pray to our saint today, St. David Galvan Bermudez. Pray for us. Tomorrow it's unscripted, so Renee, you didn't get on today's program, but you can certainly call in. You'd be first up tomorrow if you'd like to call in, because on Unscripted we talk about just about anything. Not all things go, but almost everything goes on Unscripted. So again, we want to thank the show team, Ace McKay, our producer, Michael McCall on social media, Matt Gabensky is our call screener. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the program, and thank you, Take 2 family. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. When you find yourself peering into life's rearview mirror, wondering if your past will forever define you, it doesn't have to. Go to standtalltoday.com